Here are some common myths about wild horses and burros. The first common myth is that there are too many wild horses and burros on our public lands and their numbers must be reduced, when in fact the opposite is true and there are too few wild horses and burros on our public lands, and unless their numbers grow, the survival of these special animals is in jeopardy. During the 1800s, it is estimated that there were more than 2 million wild horses and burros roaming the West. These animals, along with countless wildlife species, ranging from bison to wolves to prairie dogs, were the victims of ghastly extermination efforts, primarily to make way for private domestic livestock raising. Today, there are fewer than 30,000 wild horses and burros remaining on millions of acres of our western public lands. Tragically, the interests of those living symbols of the historic and pioneer spirit of the West are being forfeited for those of the livestock industry and other commercial operations. The second myth is that wild horses and burros must be rounded up to save them from dying of starvation or thirst, when the fact is that while the BLM urges that wild horses and burros are being rounded up for their own good to keep them from dying of starvation or dehydration in areas affected by fire and drought throughout the West, animal advocates have frequently found that the herd areas stricken by so-called emergency conditions weren't nearly as bad off as the BLM claimed. Not only were wild horses and burros doing just fine, but livestock often remained in the same areas or were returned to the areas in short order. Of course, once the wild horses and burros are gone, they are gone for good, moving in the direction of achieving the overall objective of drastically reducing populations as quickly as possible. By attempting to justify extra removals as emergencies, the BLM is able to tap into emergency funds from other programs and go over and above their allocated budgets to meet this goal. The third and last myth is that wild horses and burros are destructive to the environment and must be removed in order to protect ecosystem health, when in fact wild horses and burros, like any wildlife species, have an impact on the environment, but due to their natural behavior, their impact is minimal. In fact, wild horses and burros play a beneficial ecological role, for example by dispersing seeds through illumination, thereby helping to reseed the landscape. They also blaze trails during heavy snowfall and break ice at watering holes, helping weaker animals to survive during harsh winter months. Wild horses and burros can also serve as food for predator species such as mountain lions.
No, stop. So how is it, Josie?
It's good.
Where are we?
Cherry City.
Yes. What did we see? Oh. Yeah.
I can hear this lollipop.
What do you have there?
It's gonna take me a week to finish.
Don't want to fall down there.